Now at 11, the debate over how to reopen the U.S. The White House wants the states to decide for themselves, but now there's a growing push for a national plan. Plus,
there's a huge data gap in combating the pandemic.
Closing the gap. A first-of-its-kind program aims to find hidden coronavirus carriers, and it kicks off this weekend in Oregon. And save your receipts, save your town. The new incentive one local city is offering to give its businesses a hand.
This is KGW News at 11.
First at 11 tonight, a deadly shooting in Clackamas County. Police say this man, 25-year-old Ryan Newman Jr., shot and killed a person at the Gold Club Strip Club on Southeast McLaughlin Boulevard. The club is closed, but there's remodeling work being done. Police believe both Newman and the victim are workers on that project. They haven't identified the person who was killed yet. Newman was arrested and faces a murder charge. Thanks for joining us. I'm Laurel Porter. That shooting is the kind of story we haven't been reporting on as much lately, and understandably so amid the coronavirus crisis. But it's a reminder that crime doesn't take a break, not even for a pandemic. And police say in some aspects, it's even been increasing in recent weeks. KGW's Mike Benner looks at the reasons why.
What's interesting about this is that in the immediate weeks following the governor shutting down schools and the mayor declaring a state of emergency, we actually saw a dip in calls for service. That's not the case anymore. We've seen an increase in shots fired and disturbance calls, but perhaps nothing more dramatic than the increase in commercial burglaries.
We've experienced an increase in our call-outs.
From the Portland Police Bureau Friday afternoon, Detective Darren Posey talks about a spike in the number of commercial burglaries. And really, it should come as no surprise.
Obviously, with a lot of people not at the businesses during what would be their regular hours as well as after hours.
According to authorities, there's been an 80% increase in commercial burglaries compared to what we typically see this time of year. Detectives have this advice for business owners.
We really think that this would be a great time to take an assessment of your property and see how you can better secure it.
So to have this happen at this time is...
The owner of Yacht-style Jamaican cuisine has beefed up security at his place. We introduced you to Curtis Maslin earlier in the week. His restaurant in Northeast Portland has been broken into 3 times since late last year. The most recent break-in was in early April.
It's very frustrating, especially right around this time when we're all just we're scraping and see what we can do.
Detectives with the Portland Police Bureau are aware of those concerns, just as they're familiar with what drives the bad guys to do what they do.
We found that small electronics, cash registers, phones, bank bags, and other valuable items of inventory that are in view from the outside provide a motive.
Police are asking business owners to double-check their properties, and they're asking neighbors to provide a second layer of security by keeping an eye on shuttered businesses.
Community members are the element of success in our investigations, and we appreciate it.
While we've seen an increase in commercial burglaries, residential burglaries are down. Perhaps that's because houses aren't sitting empty. Families are at home. And that also explains why traffic crashes are down. People aren't driving because people are at home. I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
Now let's take a look at the latest cases. Oregon now has 70 coronavirus deaths. This visualization shows how the numbers have increased since the first confirmed death on March 14th. Health officials say aggressive social distancing efforts have worked to dramatically reduce potential cases. However, as you can see from that graph, we have not flattened the curve yet. And officials have said social distancing efforts will be necessary until at least early May. In its latest report, the Institute for Disease Modeling says we may have about 7,500 cases in reality here in Oregon, but just 1,800 have actually been diagnosed. Well, this weekend, OSU researchers will try to help bridge that gap. They'll start randomly testing people in Corvallis. It's a first-of-its-kind program in the country. The aim is to identify carriers with no symptoms. The first phase of the testing begins this weekend and will continue each weekend until mid-May. In total, about 4,000 residents are expected to be tested.
We're missing many pieces of key information that help us forecast the epidemic, implement smart public health strategies. And the project is about trying to fill that data gap.
A research group will go door to door to selected neighborhoods in Corvallis to get those test samples. Testing will be a key component on when we can reopen businesses. Under White House guidelines, it's up to each governor to decide when to loosen stay-at-home restrictions. Many are concerned about the lack of a coordinated federal plan to figure out who has coronavirus and where it's spreading. Many states also have limited resources. Now, Senate Democrats are proposing a $30 billion national testing plan.
Figure out the best test, use the DPA, the Defense Production Act, to take over the factories and their supply chains and make it, and then distribute it across the country where it's needed.
Another potentially costly and necessary part of the White House guidelines is setting up a way to identify and isolate anyone who's come into contact with a sick person, what's also known as contact tracing. Meanwhile, in Europe, some countries are slowly trying to reopen. In Italy, which is the epicenter of the crisis in Europe, bookshops and some clothing stores have reopened. Denmark is reopening elementary schools, but parents there have been protesting, saying they're concerned about safety. The lack of coordination between countries is also worrying. Some fear that could allow the virus to resurge. TEDx Portland announced today it's postponing this year's event because of coronavirus. It was supposed to be the biggest one yet, taking place at the Moda Center on June 6th. It would have been the 10-year anniversary celebration. The new date for TEDx Portland is May 29th, 2021, still at the Moda Center. If you've already bought tickets, they're good for next year. Many Oregonians are out of work right now, and they're also struggling to submit their unemployment claim because the system's being overloaded. So they've been asking us, will they still get their benefits even if they can't file right away? Here's what Gail Krummenauer, Communications Director with the Oregon Employment Department, told us.
We are not going to have Oregonians lose out on benefits that they were eligible for because it was difficult to get through on our phones or because you needed to contact somebody to fix something related to an error or getting additional information to us on your claim. We
have a lot more answers to questions like this on kgw.com/answers, and be sure to catch our Q&A show at 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday. It has been 1 week since Oregon officially rolled out a distance learning directive across the state. Portland public school officials say they have made progress on their home-based learning plan. It's called PPS HD. Getting all families access to computers and the internet is one of the biggest hurdles.
And so we're trying with administrators and teachers and our community partners and our community-based organizations. We're really leaning heavily on those to help us connect with the families we maybe haven't connected with.
PPS says it has given out more than 12,000 Chromebook laptops. Hotspots are being handed out too, and through its partnership with Comcast, families are already getting special codes for free internet for the next 6 months. New tonight, the city of Camas is offering its residents an incentive to support local businesses. If they do, they'll get a break on their utility bills. As Catherine Cook reports, shoppers are saving their receipts.
In downtown Camas,
8 ounce mocha, oat milk.
Small businesses like Hidden River Roasters
every day I try to find the positives in this situation.
Are trying to keep business brewing.
We have amazing customers that help us out and are encouraging every day.
Co-owner Holly Metzner just opened a coffee window.
And our baristas love it.
To make it easier for customers like Tara Bolke to feel safe while supporting them.
To go out there and keep on feeding into those places because they feed us. I don't want them to disappear. We love our communities.
The city of Camas is rewarding that effort. They're offering residents a $15 discount off their utility bill for every $25 they spend at small businesses in Camas. The discount caps at $75.
What we're hoping for is a win-win for both the utility customers and the downtown corridor.
City Finance Director Kathy Huber-Nickerson says customers have submitted receipts for everything from bicycles to pizzas. They credit the idea to the city of Newburgh.
One of our council members saw what they were doing and good for them and good for us.
A lot of Camas businesses are getting creative. The Soap Chest is making hand sanitizer and offering it for pickup or delivery.
On its website, the Downtown Camas Association lists which businesses are open, closed, and any special deals they're offering. Back at Hidden River Roasters,
I had a lady today that said, she said, I live alone.
Holly says maybe the best incentive they can offer is just a dash of social interaction.
She said, I'm so glad you're open. I just need to talk to somebody. And so those are the kinds of things that you melt your heart.
In downtown Camas, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Boy, maybe other cities will follow suit with that utility bill idea. Coming up, answering more of your stimulus questions, including whether a specific group of Americans is getting a much larger payment than everyone else. And a historic night for basketball in Oregon. The triple-double queen was just drafted, but has already accomplished a feat no other WNBA player has.
Oh, that's a great story, and we had great weather today, our warmest day of the year, but did you see something interesting flying through the sky tonight? Several of them, actually. We'll talk about what those are and the weather, the big change coming our way tomorrow.